Alrighty. Welcome to Practical Chaos Podcast. My name is Emily, your ever so lovely host, and today we're going to be going into Love Means Never Having to Say You're Sorry for episode 4. Alright. So I know that we have all heard this, we've all been told this, at least in one of our relationships. Love means never having to say you're sorry. What the hell do people mean when they say this? What do they think when they're doing this? Why do they think that this is amazing advice for couples? And where did this come from? This actually comes from a novel that was then turned into a movie in the early 70s. It was said exactly two whole times in that entire movie, once in the middle, once at the end, neither one of them in relation to an actual monogamous relationship. So Barbara Rose, who has a PhD, actually wrote an article that I just had to laugh at. I just thought it was so hilarious. She says, love means never having to say you're sorry. Is true love is unconditional. It's transparent where we can accept, understand, and allow the other person to make every mistake, falter, stumble, and give genuine, heartfelt compassion when they're trying their best, even if their best can be better. Okay, then. So just because you messed up and I love you, I should not expect an apology from you? Sorry, Barbara. We're going to have to agree to disagree on that one. This whole saying, like I said, it came from a novel that was turned into a movie. It just resonated with the world. It turned into a song, and everyone was just like, this is what I'm going to roll with. Like, I know this is exactly what I needed in my entire life. Couldn't we have turned anything else from that time into relationship advice? Like, why not Han Solo and Leia's I know? Just turn to your newly married friends asking you for advice and just say the key is I know. Just be done with it. Leave it at that. Mysterious, has just this edge to it. I think it would be fantastic. Wouldn't everybody else love that advice? It's just as mysterious and ambiguous as being in love means never having to say you're sorry. Uh, yeah, all love's unconditional, right? That's just what this whole thing is based upon is that every piece of love that you give is an unconditional love. Uh, Wrong. I am a very firm believer that there is only one type of unconditional love, and that is the love between a parent and a child. Every single other piece of love that you get is 100% conditional. Every single one. And even then, the love between a child and a parent is completely different. That doesn't have to be unconditional either. You are not expected to love your parents unconditionally, but your parents should be showing their children unconditional love. When you start any sort of relationship, it's essentially a contract that you're starting with another person. You're saying, in essence, I, Emily, agree to provide you with love, affection, and support so long as you provide all of those things equally and solely to me. Nobody else, just myself. Now, obviously, if you're poly or any other sort of relationship status as far as that goes, rules are going to be a little bit different. For sake of this argument today, we're going to stick to a monogamous viewpoint, mostly because that's the only one that I can offer on the subject. Now, if you are poly and you want to give me an insight into how your love contract, which is what I am now coining this as, love contract, how your love contract is set up in comparison to a very crude one, like I've mentioned above, for a monogamous relationship, shoot me a message. Let me know. Tell me what we're feeling there. Now, does this mean every person should be cut from your life immediately when they hurt you? No, not really. That's also not what we're saying here. So there are two parties, obviously, to every discretion that happens, or indiscretion, I guess is the correct term. Who knows? Who the hell knows? I'm very tired when I'm recording this today. We're probably going to edit this out. You're welcome. So for every indiscretion, there are two parties. There's what we'll call our perpetrator and our victim. So we have our perpetrator, who is the one who has committed said terrible deed, which could be anything from adultery to you ate the last cookie out of the box. How dare you? You knew that I wanted that cookie. And the victim is either the other person in this relationship that was considered monogamous, or the person who really wanted that cookie and had made it very clear that they needed that cookie more than their partner did. Now, both of these people are going to feel psychologically threatened, so to speak, from this whole indiscretion and this transgression. So your perpetrator is obviously going to feel a threat to their moral identity. What does that mean? I know, this one is very serious. There's lots of big words in it. It's getting a little bit crazy, and I almost don't know what to do. I started this way sooner than I should have, so you're along for the ride. Let's see how this goes. So your perpetrator is going to feel a threat to their moral identity. So they're going to feel guilt, shame, even after they rationalize that what they did was fine and they really I was justified in my cheating because I was justified to eat the last cookie because, and they still, regardless of that, they're going to feel that guilt and shame that comes along with knowing what they did was not right, no matter how much they rationalize it. And to that point, the more they rationalize it, the worse they feel because they know they shouldn't have eaten the cookie. Shouldn't have had the cookie, man. You shouldn't have. Like, this actually reminds me of a really stupid thing. So I'm a military wife, as any of you who have listened so far. If this is your first episode, hey, welcome. I'm Emily, military wife. Good fun times. So my husband and I lived in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina for 6 years. One of the last years that we lived there, we got new neighbors in our little housing subdivision, whatever the hell you want to call it. And they threw a little get together. And I was like, oh, we'll go over there. We'll hang out for a little bit. They invited us over. So we're standing out in their garage and we're hanging out. We're out in the driveway having a grand old time, just kind of chilling. And I see this girl turn to her friend. And literally, I'm standing there with my drink in hand. And this girl is talking to her friend. And she goes, yeah, like he knows that I'm going to cheat on him because it's just like my right as a military wife because I got married so young and I need to experience the world. Like, bye, bitch. I'm gone. I deuced out of there so fast it wasn't even funny. Like, I don't understand where this rationalization comes that, just because you think you're allowed to, or you've somehow made up this reason that you should be able to do this, that now it's okay if you go and break those vows that you had. Like, no, none of that's okay. Let's not do that. Okay, back to our victim. So our victim loses their sense of agency. So that what that means is they lose their ability to choose their own actions because at that point when someone does something against you, the main action that you have to choose from is essentially anger or sadness. Like, are you angry about it? Are you sad about it? Are you a combination of it? So do you want to know what helps fix this and helps make this better? Oh, my ambulances. Do you want to know what helps fix this and helps make this better for every single person that was involved in said transgression? A sincere apology and an act of atonement. Oh, so what is that? So a sincere apology and an act of atonement. So what this does, it's now going to give that decision back to the victim. Now, you don't have to label yourself as a victim every time. Don't victimize yourself if you do not feel the need to. I am just using this for this whole thing to make more sense because I'm laughed the more I read about this and the more I looked into this. It's just, oh, it cracked me up so bad I couldn't even. I just can't even. I can't. I'm just like a bunch of odd numbered girls. I can't even. Oh, I crack myself up. So, a sincere apology and an act of atonement. So, someone actually putting their words into action and apologizing the way that an apology should be taken. This now gives that sense of agency back to your victim. So now they're allowed to decide, am I going to forgive this person? If I am going to forgive them, when am I going to forgive them? And that makes their psychological need is met. And so now they are feeling better, regardless of if, let's just say it is cheating in the relationship, the person decides not to forgive them, the relationship's over. Guess what, though? That was a decision that they made. And as much as it hurts in that moment, they can stand true in that, knowing that they made that decision of their own free will and that's what they wanted. Or if they did decide to forgive their loved one, that's what they did then. And the act of forgiving now restores that moral identity to our perpetrator, because now they feel better about themselves because they've been forgiven for their transgression. They no longer need to feel that guilt and shame, and everyone is just hunky dory. So, especially when we have hurt someone that we love, it is so, so, so important for us to apologize them sincerely. I'm not talking like, oh, I'm sorry, and then you eat the cookie again. That's not okay. Or, hey, I'm sorry, and then you're a serial cheater through your whole relationship. Like, no, don't do that. When you say an apology, it needs to be sincere, especially if the person you're apologizing to is someone that you care deeply for. It's the only way to start the healing process for the broken relationship. And love means having to say, I'm sorry and I forgive you, would make a lot more sense than love means never having to say you're sorry, because you do. It's so big. Oh, I just can't even. I'm going to keep saying that because I'm so tired. Once more, most of this will be cut out. Yeah. I hope you all enjoyed that. That was pretty good. That was pretty class A. All right. But no, I mean, love is very important. And how do we expect people to love us and for us to love other people wholly and truly and be able to give them that trust if they're not going to apologize when they mess up? Like, hell, I mess up all the fucking time. And I am the first one, after a little bit of soul searching, to say I'm sorry for something that could have been something small, like, hey, I'm really sorry I kind of sounded a little bit bitchy the other day. I really didn't mean to. Or like, hey, so I'm really, really sorry. I may or may not have hit something with the car. Yeah, sorry about that. But no, I mean, love is really important. And for us to keep those relationships, we need to be able to sit there and say, hey, I'm so sorry about that. I really didn't mean to do it. I promise not to do it again. And then to live that apology. So, forgiveness is obviously another huge part of this whole saying you're sorry thing. So, forgiveness is a huge step too, and realizing you don't have to forgive everyone that does you wrong and allow them relationship with your life again is another huge thing. Just because someone is your family, or even if it is your spouse, you're not required to forgive them. Like, that is not a necessity for them to live. Will it make them feel better? Yes. Will it make you feel better? Probably. Is it required? Nope. Is it expected? Most of the time it is. And I feel like that's a real shame, because it shouldn't be expected of us to want to go ahead and apologize. I mean, forgive people who maybe don't even mean their apology. You can forgive them and never speak to that person again, or even tell them that you forgave them. That forgiveness is for you, and you shouldn't do it just to make that other person feel less guilty about what they have done to you, or to make them feel better. An apology that's given just because they think they should, not because they actually mean it, is just as bad as forgiveness that's given when you don't mean it, because then it turns into something super, super crazy at the end of the day. And you're like, well, do you remember that time you ate all the cookies when I wanted them? Yeah, how dare you do that? True heartfelt apologies are part of a strong foundation for any serious relationship. Uh, Being able to recognize that you fucked up and to be able to admit that to who you fucked up against, yeah, that's a really big thing. I'm really sorry about this one, man. There's lots of swears in this. I'm going to have to put like a disclaimer at the beginning of this, man. I just, I dated someone who I use the word date very loosely in this context, but I was seeing someone who felt like the sun shined straight out of his asshole and never apologized for anything. He would stand me up and wouldn't apologize for it. He would tell me we're meeting at 9 o'clock, and then 11 o'clock rolls around and I haven't even heard from him, and he's like, oh, my bad, I didn't mean to. Like, I literally went to 3 movies by myself one day waiting for this dumb dude, because I was a dumb young girl thinking that I wasn't allowed to have a voice. Well, guess what? You're allowed to have a voice and you're allowed to tell people when they hurt you. Like, you don't have to sit there and just take it. Love is one of those things that people have this notion because we watch all these romantic comedies where these people are just so, so in love and there's nothing else that they want in the world and all of their dreams and all their aspirations just line up perfectly with that love. The person makes this grandiose, grandiose, show of an apology when they messed up. Like, oh, I'm in a hot air balloon and I'm chasing after you down the street in the rain with the mud, and then I have diamonds in my pocket, and I am so sorry. Oh my gosh, Becky, how could I? And then Becky's like, oh my gosh, Brad, it's okay. Uh, but it's just one of those things where it's not as perfect as everybody wants you to seem or wants it to seem. Love is very difficult. My husband and I have been married for almost 8 years. And every single day I have to wake up, just like him, he has to wake up to troll Emily, which, ta da da, troll Emily. He has to wake up to troll Emily and sit there and say, man, I love this woman and I'm going to stand beside her even when she's being annoying as hell and is depressed as hell because he stands beside me even through all of that. Even when he didn't understand it himself, he still stood there beside me and decided to love me. That was a decision that he needed to make for himself and that I couldn't make for him. Just like every day, it's my decision to love him through his mental illness and through this military life that tears us apart and tears us away from friends and family and makes me feel so, so, so alone. Yes, I have friends and yes, I can talk to them, but especially in this place that we are right now, I don't have anybody. And part of that is my own doing because I do find it hard to make friends, as I mentioned in my It Takes a Village episode. It's just really difficult for me to make more friends because I do fear leaving them and the fact that they're not going to understand the type of friend that I am, which is I'm there for you through anything, but there's also a good chance that we probably aren't going to talk every day. It's probably going to take me 3 to 5 business days to respond to your text messages. Sorry, Tori. Sorry, Grace. Love you. And I know you're going to listen to this, so love you even more. And, it's just waking up every day and deciding that you're going to love somebody. It's loving them through the fact that they ate the last cookie. It's loving them through the fact that they may or may not have curbed your car or their own car when you love cars accidentally because they don't drive the best because they're super nervous driver all the time. And it's just loving people through the hardest moments. And that's the biggest thing here is love means loving somebody through their hardest moments. And so that hardest moment is sometimes that asking for forgiveness and truly meaning it. And then love also means loving someone through their forgiveness process, which could take a lot longer than you would like it to. It doesn't have to be immediate. They don't owe you anything. You owe nobody anything but yourself. You owe yourself peace of mind. You owe yourself just something that's going to be there for you. And to choose that and to be able to say to yourself, am I going to fight for this or am I going to walk away from it? And that's the decision that we make. I'm not going to say we make that exact decision every day, but those are the decisions that we make through all of the stupid stuff that everyone goes through and does. Is we decide, am I going to love this person through this, or am I going to be done? There are so many discussions about what this phrase truly means, and while there is a consensus that is directed only towards couples, it makes much more sense for that parent and child relationship that I was talking about. Children don't understand as much. Yes, we want them to say, you're sorry when you do something wrong, but a parent, especially a mother, is more likely than not just going to love them through whatever it is that they decided to do. So my kid jumped off the couch and like pile drive me the other day. And do I still love him? Absolutely. Was I pissed? Hell yeah, I was pissed. But the forgiveness in that aspect, did I expect him to say sorry? No. Did I tell him to? Well, yes, because I'm trying to train him to be a good human being. Because you gotta raise the beans so they're good human beings and not bad human beings. We don't want any rotten beans here if we can avoid it. But that unconditional love is the only love that's there, and it's that love between a parent and a child. And to be able to sit there and say, man, my kid is a complete asshole, but do I expect him to say sorry? No, not necessarily, and that's okay. Being sorry takes love and a change of actions. Saying sorry takes absolutely nothing. So remember that when you're sitting there thinking about this phrase, or the next time someone says it to you, being in love means never having to say you're sorry. And just laugh because you know the truth. That being in love means saying you're sorry more often than not, and more often than you'd probably like to, and it means showing you're sorry even more often than you say it. Being in love means taking those hard days, loving them when they're trolls and loving them when they're angels. That's what it means. That's what being in love means. Loving your child, that might mean a little bit more of never having to say you're sorry because it's an unconditional love. It's a love that you're going to provide for them with no condition that they provide it back. Do you want them to? Of course you do. But you understand that they're not going to understand that love until they have their own children. They won't understand it when they have their spouse. They won't understand it when they have a pet. They won't understand it until they have something that they just love that wholly and that fully. All right, guys. Well, that's all I have today for you for being in love means never having to say you're sorry. So I want to thank you so much for listening today. I know this one was a little bit all over the place. I had a lot of strong feelings about it, so I wanted to share those with you on my view for love. I hope that maybe it helps at least one person, today maybe look at their relationship a little bit different or go into a relationship with a little bit of a different mindset when it comes to conditional versus unconditional love. Once again, if you are in a polyamorous relationship and you want to share with me how your love contract works, I would love to hear more about that from you. If you want to share anything with me, I would love to hear any advice that you get and how you deal with it. I would just love to hear anything you have to tell me. A funny story about maybe something I've talked about so far in It Takes a Village, Sleep When the Baby Sleeps, and Self Care. It's a Trap. Those three episodes are all available on Podbean as well as iTunes. And you can also find them on my website, www.practicalchaospodcast.com. So please feel free to head over there. You can follow me on social media through there. And I have a YouTube channel that I just recently posted a video to, and I will be adding more as well. Um, Moving forward, I will be doing specialty episodes every few episodes, so I'm going to try and do them once a month. So hopefully I'll be coming out with one of those here soon. Head over to my Facebook page to vote on what you think should be the next specialty episode, and don't forget to share me with your friends. Like, follow, subscribe, all of that good fun stuff. And please don't forget to leave me a review. I don't really want to ask for them, but iTunes does look at those. So if you could leave me a review on iTunes, I would greatly appreciate it. As always, looking forward to next week's episode, which is. Now I need to come up with next week's episode. All right, my friends, and following with this theme from today's episode, we're going to do another relationship based episode, which is if they cannot love you at your worst, they don't deserve you at your best. So please tune in next Sunday for that episode. As always, love you. Toodles.